There is nothing wrong with your internet. Do not attempt to adjust your settings. We are controlling the podcast. We control the squealing and the screams. We can make your heart flutter, your eyes blur from tears, or sharpen your mind to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit back. We are in control of what you hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your settings. You are about to experience the awe and mystery known as the female mind. You are now entering the Fangirl Zone.
Welcome to 47 Survivors on the Fangirl Zone, a podcast on the ABC TV series The Crossing. I'm Terry.
I'm Sean, Fangirl S.
And I'm Steve, and tonight we'll be discussing episode 1 of season 1 of The Crossing.
Steve's always so hopeful when we have a new show. He's like, season 1? I'm like, I've had too many burnouts, so I'm afraid.
Fear not.
We've done pretty good with the ones we've covered here over the last couple of years.
That's
we've
true.
at least gotten multiple seasons.
It's usually just me and Jess. We don't make it very far. This was pretty good, though, for the pilot. I wasn't sure what to expect. I mean, what did you guys think, just in general, watching the pilot?
I thought the premise was interesting. There were some kind of retreads of old themes, the local authority being overrun by the feds. God, we've seen that a million times. I like Steve Zahn. I think he's a good actor. And the woman who plays the FBI agent. I think they're both good actors, but it's just that was kind of a retread. But the whole idea where everybody was showing up where they showed up and it caused so many deaths, and the little tease of the reasoning why they showed up where they were, I thought was definitely interesting. I wouldn't give it stellar marks, but it was definitely attention grabbing, I thought.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun episode, and they're trying to kind of make it sound like it's the next new Lost, and I just won't go that far yet. They got to come up with a whole lot more intrigue than what we've got right now. But from the setup, I like it. It had all the things that I'm looking for in a show to enjoy, and yeah, the little twist
yoga?
at the end was unexpected. To get that soon. So
That's true.
I kind of went, fist pump. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did have, like you guys were saying, like kind of a familiar feel with some stuff that we've seen previously.
Yeah.
The people that I've talked to who've watched it already, a lot of them were saying, well, it felt kind of X-Files or, oh my gosh, I can't even remember all of the shows that they were comparing to. But it just had enough where it's like, all right, I want to keep watching, and it didn't turn me off because it didn't feel like a complete rehash of everything. So, that being said, Terry, why don't you take us into the little synopsis we have for the pilot, which is way more than we get for certain other shows.
Yeah.
Our one sentence recap on sci-fi, which I still love, but Terry, take us in, shall you?
Man, she's breaking me in hard here for my first time on the Fangirl Zone network. Wow.
You get a cookie at the end, it's fine.
Okay, come to the dark side. We have cookies. So this is our pilot episode. It's after 47 refugees mysteriously wash up in a small fishing town. Local Sheriff Jude Ellis teams with DHS agent Emma Wren, that's a weird name, to assess their unusual claim that they're fleeing a war 180 years in the future. See, that was the hook for me.
Yeah.
The mystery deepens when Jude realizes that one of the new arrivals possesses heightened abilities and is a threat to his town, setting the two of them on a collision course. As the rest of the refugees acclimate to their unfamiliar surroundings, Emma learns that one has information that calls into question everything she thought she knew about our present time.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun. Hey now. Yeah, that was the hook.
Yeah.
The future?
Yeah, the
No, actually, it's the past, but
yeah.
Oh, okay.
To me, the comparison that I would make is kind of like, what was that series that
4400?
No, Roy Scheider was in Sequest.
Yes.
Was that it?
Sequest DSV.
Kind of a cross between Sequest and Stargate.
Okay.
being that I didn't see Lost, and after what I heard about the finale, I'm glad I didn't. And I'm going to lose points with the Fangirl Zone listeners. I was not an X-File watcher. I'm a Fringe watcher. So, but that's what this kind of reminded me of, kind of a cross between Sequest and definitely Stargate. You know, like coming from one area and another, and even the Stargate circle, it looked like it was water that you were passing through. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was interesting how they throw it in, and you have Jude Ellis, who is the sheriff, that's Steve Zahn that we were talking about, who's in this small village, or not even a small village, it's a small town. I don't know why I said village, sorry. You guys know what I mean. Whatever. On the Oregon coast. And apparently he left Oakland because of some stuff that they didn't exactly go into detail.
Yep.
And
Yeah, we didn't get the details, but you could definitely tell that he's separated from his wife and they do have a child.
yes.
Yeah.
A young one at that.
Yeah.
But he's trying to relax, and like you kind of brought up, he's doing yoga. And
Yeah.
I can't do yoga. I fell asleep last time. That was bad. But all of a sudden his deputy's there. He's like, yeah, there's a problem. Okay. They go over to this beach, which is apparently closed at this point, and you have a body. Okay. That's weird as it is, because you never know what's happening. And then another, and another, and another. And all of a sudden it's like just all these bodies, and they're freaking out. And the fact that they were able to get all this help there as quickly as they did really surprised me. And I don't know if that's because living where I am, like, I don't see that all of a sudden you have tons of help coming like that.
Right. Yeah. Big towns don't quite react that way.
Yeah.
No.
And I mean, they're pulling all these bodies out, and just like looking out, if you were the sheriff or just the fisherman in the area, and all of a sudden you just keep seeing these bodies come up from nowhere, like, I think that would be a little freaky.
Unnerving.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And how the heck did the feds get there so fast then?
Well, that's something that was, you know, when they found the bodies, it was daylight. And when we saw most of the help fully engaged in recovery, it was dark.
Right.
So it had been at least several hours.
See, I'm just thinking daylight savings. It could have been all of like 4 hours at that point.
Oh, she's still stuck on daylight savings. Come over here.
Dark.
We're over here on the other side of the cave.
But I mean, that was just crazy how they had that. And I mean, I can see that being something that is going to get around a town pretty quick, especially if it's a small town.
Right.
And so I don't understand either how all of a sudden it's like the feds are like, oh, no information in or out. Nobody's in. Really? You're on a frickin' beach. Again, maybe it's just me where I live. I don't see.
Right.
it
And
being
no,
a-
it was very, unusual that the feds all of a sudden would show up in force for something, you know, just some strange happening. But at the end, we find out why.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We got a hint why. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
All these people who did survive, the 47 out of, I'm sorry guys, help me out. Was it like 300?
No, I thought it was, wasn't it in the 200s?
200? Okay.
I forget.
So it was a small percentage
Yeah.
compared to how many bodies washed up.
Right.
Because she says to the guy, that this superior, you know, I've got X number of dead bodies. I wish I knew why. And I forget the math now, but I think it was like 200 and something was the grand total.
Okay.
I think.
And then just, yeah, all of them. I understand you're going to interview these people, but I feel like you would have taken them to a hospital first. Again,
No.
thoughts?
No, I
No?
wouldn't. No. You want to interview them at the scene. You might bring medical attention to them.
Right.
At
You don't
sea.
know where they came from or
Right.
anything. And of course, we find out that she is Emma is a immigrant herself.
Right.
So
I
she
think
kind of knows the protocol for unusual immigrations.
Oh, yeah. And I think if they had anybody, which we didn't see anybody, with like major injuries, like a broken bone or a hurt back where they could hardly move, they probably would take those individuals to a hospital. But these were just people that they've just kind of taken in a lot of water.
Yeah,
So-
you can say that.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're going to, unless there's an absolute need to get them to the facility, they're going to treat them on site and they're going to interview them on site.
See, I didn't realize that. Of course, haven't been into any kind of major crisis like this, so
Right.
thankfully.
Well, my FBI training tells me that that's exactly what they would do.
Is that what you call binge watching Fringe? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't that count?
But it's interesting because they have all this technology, so they can kind of do lie detectors with their computer, but like by face, and I guess they hook them up to heartbeat. I don't know. And all these people are telling the same story and the truth, and they're suddenly from 180 years in the future, and oh, guess what? All this weird shit happens in the future.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we're running from a war.
Not just any war.
Yeah.
Apparently one that I, of course, was thinking about another show that Steve has done when they were talking about the changes in the people in the future, and there's this group called the Apex.
Apex.
And I'm like, ooh, are they from like Wayward Pines?
Yeah.
Whole different show, whole different station, but it's like, now I have a crossover happening in my head.
You know, I was digesting my food just fine until you had to say those two words in that order. Wayward Pines.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're mad too. We finally caught up, but finally.
That's all right, Steve. If it comes back, I'll still do the podcast.
Yeah. We got word 2 weeks ago that, nope, it's done.
So,
that's right.
It's a long
Fox
wait.
finally announced it.
Long wait for a train that don't come.
Yeah. But our podcast is doing real well over on the Hollow 9 Network.
That's great.
Yeah. We had almost all of the second season was in the top 25 or something.
Oh,
You know.
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
and now I think those people can follow us over here because we don't know what those Apex are. All we know
That's
is they're
right.
fast and they're smart. They don't have to talk. We don't know.
They're actually from Krypton.
It's a whole other show.
I mean, who else do you know does that? Superman leaps like that. The way she does in the hangar.
yeah, it's
Who else?
weird.
Who the hell else have you seen that does that? It's Superman. They got a hyphen EL in their name somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you really ask them, Maggie L, Fred L,
Resell.
Reese L. I mean, they got a hyphen L in their name somewhere. Come on.
Well, there's other families. We don't know. They can be a Vex. Vex? What is it? A Vex? What's the new one? God, I was just watching the show, too, and I got the wrong hyphenated name.
Yeah, the wrong middle letter.
You know.
Wow. Anyway, let's go back to talk about these survivors, and this one in particular who shows up. Now, I want to point out that the one that shows up, who we're talking about, is Reese, who seems to be, I don't know, more advanced than the rest of them. So we're thinking she's an
There's
Apex.
no doubt, because we open and we see her going down and getting her daughter and basically pushing her towards the surface as she sinks.
That
And then
was sad. I was like,
Yes.
not saying that because I'm like, oh no, you see this, I'm assuming mom or caring
Right.
individual helping a child. And I'm thinking she's done for.
Right. And then she gets picked up miles off coast by fishermen, and you go, what's going on here?
How'd that happen? Yeah.
And I want to know, I mean, we hear that these other people who are telling the feds the story that they're from the war and how they got there, they're like common. But just because they're saying it, we haven't seen them do anything. So they may be way more advanced than we are. And maybe Reese isn't quite where we're automatically assuming she is.
Right.
You mean they, as in the 47?
Yeah.
Are more advanced than us right now in 2018?
Correct.
Well, I would imagine that they are in a lot of ways. Even the one, the black guy, he was saying, you can't imagine what's possible in the future. Well, nobody can, obviously, but I mean, I'm sure that they all know different things. I mean, even food is different.
Yes, they did make a point of that with meat.
They're talking, meat actually comes from animals, and the black guy is like, well, this is the way America used to be.
Yeah, and the one girl was like, ew, that's going to make me sick. And I'm like, what?
And I just sat there and thought, oh crap, everything is GMO crops in the future.
Yeah.
Even meat. I'm going to grow a hamburger over here. Oh wait, that's a whole different show.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a hamburger tree.
I mean, even the one, Reese, when she was in that restaurant that the guys took her to from the ship, and she was eating what I'm assuming would be seafood. And she, after she gets done talking to the guy and he gets up from the table, she looks at these pictures of, it looked like big fish catchings.
Right.
And she kind of just pushes the plate away from her, and it's like, yeah, everything really is GMO food. Ooh, what the hey, you know?
Maybe they all just have spam.
Yeah.
You know what? If that was the case, I think I could live with that than GMO stuff. Yeah, I could roll with spam. Yeah, I could roll with spam. Grill it up, it's good.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not dogging spam because I used to eat spam and I love fried spam. I don't know what was with that, but I don't know. It's weird because just the little things that they're saying, it makes you kind of just cock your head like, wait a second, what?
Yeah.
Well, that's all the little crumbs they're leaving. That's what I like.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's what I think is going to be the hook. And then, like Steve was saying about the interesting info that we got from a higher up already.
You know.
So, Steve, why don't you talk about Homeland and our higher up that decided to help?
Yeah, of course, like we mentioned before, Emma Wren is the original lead, and she's pretty much by the book until she meets up with her boss, Undersecretary Craig Lindauer, who seems to know a lot more about the migration than he's telling her, because he actually pulls her away from a meeting where she was supposed to give a presentation of what was going on.
Red flag.
Yeah, big red flag.
Yep.
Now, of course, her second in command is Bryce Foster, a young guy who seems like he might be a little over his head, like the sheriff's deputy.
Yeah.
Right.
Just the deputy's not young, but he's grew up in that town, so he hasn't had to deal with anything major. At least the sheriff has. So
yeah, because he even says to the sheriff, he says, "I guess you've seen some." He's like, "What? Bodies?"
Right.
You know, and the sheriff kind of blows it off as, yeah, a few, you know. So obviously this guy has the second in command locally. He's there, and it's such a quiet town that he hasn't had to deal with that kind of stuff.
Right. And of course, Emma's boss is basically making sure as much doesn't get out as possible.
Again, that's like, and can I just say, the boss there, Jay Carnes, I couldn't figure out where he was from. He is a sci-fi alum.
Yes.
From 12 Monkeys, which we always love when we get those crossovers.
Shut the monkey!
Yeah,
now,
he
of
was
course,
so
we also,
worrisome.
yeah.
Like, when right away, you got a bigger boss like that, all of a sudden like, oh, let me help. Let me get you everything you need. Here's this. I'm like,
Right.
Yeah.
I've watched too many sci-fi shows to know that you're dirty or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And of course, we also meet a DHS camp guard, Roy.
Oh.
Boy next door.
Yeah.
Roy next
Yeah,
door. We'll
to
call
say
him
the
that.
least.
Gosh golly shucks.
And is a straight arrow, but it looks like things are changing very quickly as he seems to have an interest in one of the survivors, a young teenage girl
There you go.
who is by herself.
All right. I don't know if you can say teenage. I don't know.
I
She
thought
didn't
she
seem
was
too
young.
young.
Early 20s,
Okay.
yeah, she could be.
Yeah.
Cute kid.
You forget, we're old.
I
He's
refuse
got-
to say I'm old.
He's got good taste. She's a cute kid.
She is.
Yep.
I give him thumbs up.
Yeah, he gave her a pair of sunglasses.
Yeah.
Oh.
Against the rules.
We're not supposed to talk
Now
to you.
Now that's true love. All right. That's all I'm going to tell you. That's true love right there.
Well, we'll see if the Roy next door, works out with this girl.
Oh, that should be our name for the rest of the show. The Roy Next Door. I like that. Yeah, I like that.
But,
Now,
I'm
there's
sorry.
a couple of people we didn't see in the pilot that will probably play big roles. And of course, one is near and dear to our hearts
Yeah.
as another vital member of the government team is virologist Dr. Sophie Forbin, played by Georgina Haig
Yeah.
from Fringe.
Hey now. Oh, Edna, we have missed you.
Yes.
There you go.
So, looks like she may be, one of those that kind of plays both sides of the fence for a while until she decides which way she's going to stand. So that might be interesting.
Like most virologists, yeah.
Right.
Well, the whole thing that they're bringing in these people and what we've heard from the survivors so far about it being, the scientists basically went too far and they were curing disease, which doesn't sound bad, right?
Right.
But then suddenly it's, but then it caused this to happen and now we're with the government. It's like, did it all happen? Is it a paradox? It all happened because they came back.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting how they were saying how they came back and it was all rushed and some people paid a lot to get there. And I don't know if you guys noticed, they weren't wearing shoes.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
They were in like socks or like surf shoes maybe, but like nobody had shoes on when they were showing them in the water. And
I didn't catch that. Wow.
And I'm like, is that a thing? Am I just noticing it? Like,
yeah. Weird. Yeah, nobody has good arches in the future.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Yeah, everybody's flatfoots.
I don't know. I mean, ultimately, Terry, what do you think with what we got with the survivors? Do you want to talk about any of them?
Not really. But anyway, well, let's go into a little bit of exposition about that bunch of motley folk. The survivors fled the future, and they were looking for a better life. And a fellow that I mentioned early on, Caleb, and his wife, Rebecca, they're still struggling with the loss of their daughter. Actually, we saw him first, and then she kind of wakes up on the beach, opens her eyes, and like, oh my gosh. Hannah, who's has a sweet exterior, but a gritty survivor who has learned the hard way what it takes to survive.
And you can't tell that from what we saw in this episode.
Yeah, right. And then Paul, he's anxious, haunted, desperate to see the outside world. Wasn't he the one that had the information, or is it a different one?
I think that was him.
Yeah, it was Paul, wasn't it?
I thought it was Josh. I thought it was another one.
Might have been Josh. But anyway, Paul, anxious, haunted. I mean, who else wouldn't be going through all that? Anxious, haunted, and desperate to see the outside world. I mean, they're all being kept, like, on the beach. And it's like I think it was later that night they took them to their temporary homes.
Yeah, some
like
old scout campground, yeah.
Yeah, which looked kind of cool. I wouldn't mind staying there. But I like going camping now and then, so. Then we have Reese, who we mentioned, refugee too, but she's different. Boy, is she's different. She's an apex, which is a member of a genetically engineered human population that possesses dramatically heightened physical and mental traits. Gee, I hope this is not going to be another pro-transhumanism show, because I hate that movement. That's a personal thing. We'll get into that later, maybe. In the future, she was a soldier, and she was tasked with eliminating members of the lower common class.
Which is what we're assuming all the other survivors are, correct?
Right,
okay.
Yes.
So 180 years in the future is the same as 180 years back, like right now. Great.
Right, yeah.
Jeez. Her only goal once she arrives in Port Canaan is to find her daughter, Leia. And this is the young girl who we saw, the blonde girl. And so that was her mom. Reese is her mom. And still wondering how they got so separated. She pushes her to the surface, she disappears, and then she reappears somewhere else.
Riptide.
Riptide, baby. They're strong. They always tell you, be careful. And then she's taken to a secret camp with the rest of the new arrivals, and Leia tries to adapt, still saying she wants her mom. The Homeland Security agent, she gives her a doll, one of the other survivors pulls a doll out of this bin and gives it to her. And it's a little bunny wabbit. And the little girl looks at it and goes, "What's this?"
That was weird to me.
And then the woman sits there and goes, "Well, they call it a rabbit."
Right.
So I'm like, there are no rabbits in the future. Great.
Yeah.
I never had one as a pet, but I happen to like bunnies.
Right.
I think thought it was kind of weird the way some of the stuff, like I said, little things like that. They call it a rabbit. What do you mean they call it? Okay, you don't have rabbits, but you don't know what they are exactly?
Right.
Yeah. And it's just a doll. I mean, this girl, I guess being so distraught, she's not just going to sit there and go, "Oh, a doll, great. I guess her mind is probably going a mile a minute, but she doesn't recognize.
Right, and you got to remember who her mother is.
Yeah.
If Reese is her mother that was a genetically engineered human, then doesn't it add up that Leah may also?
Oh, I think she definitely is because of what we saw.
Right.
When they were on that bus to the
camp,
the Boy Scout or Girl Scout camp, whatever, she pulls up her sleeve and she shows like she's got these welts or whatever, some kind of like part rash, part welts on her forearm. And the look on her face shows that it bothers her. It's irritating her. I imagine that's a point of injecting stuff into her to make her an apex as well. So it just hasn't kicked in yet.
See, I wasn't sure what that was. I thought it could have been something from them traveling, and I was hoping that was going to be explained.
An effect of traveling, the time travel.
Yeah.
Well, if we see somebody else with the same rash, then I think it's probably that. But right now I'm thinking, being that's her daughter, they probably started treatments on her, like injections, or they put something underneath the surface of her skin.
Oh, okay.
And it's irritated her skin to where it looks like kind of a rash or kind of like circular welts.
Yeah.
Right.
In her skin. Yeah. So
I thought it could even be like a brand or something.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, it could be that too. Yeah. That could be like an Apex branding type thing. Oh, I like that. We got to keep her around.
Thanks.
So she tries to adapt with the other refugees. She'll find herself fighting a devastating virus that she has brought with her from the future. So much for that great idea. Maybe that's a sign of the virus.
Yeah.
I thought it was such a great idea.
Oh, great. You come back to infect us. Wonderful.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is maybe a way to make sure they eliminate the group that came before them.
Which is something, that we kind of find out that they were not the first.
Right.
Yeah, that was creepy. I was like, we're not the first ones here. Whoa, dude! Yeah, it could be that, like, when you get inoculation, and it's got stuff in there that's supposed to help your body build up immunity, maybe this virus is to strengthen her immune system or something, but it could be infectious to others.
Right.
Okay.
And maybe that's part of the making her an apex, or it could be like, maybe we could meld the two ideas together about this virus that maybe she had in the future or brought it with her in the time travel. Or maybe she got bit by jellyfish underwater. Who knows?
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Could be anything.
Yep.
Yeah, but Reese has apparently raised a fighter capable, resourceful, and brave. We just haven't seen that yet. I want to see her do some
No, she was very silent basically through the whole episode, but
sure.
I mean, that is a sign of strength. I mean, she's not falling apart because her mother's not there.
Right.
Yeah, but silence could also be that she's, which I don't think is the case here, but silence could also be that she's in shock.
Right.
Sometimes even an adult who's going through that, they don't say anything for a while.
Right.
She's trying to take it all in.
Sure. Imagine going through all that and then you awaken and you're underwater.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is that you were doing, that you're unconscious. Then when you become conscious again for a moment, you're underwater. Holy crap. And then you make it to the surface somehow, and then she's on the beach, and she's apparently passed out on the beach before the sheriff gets to her, and she's just starting to wake up. So, holy moly, it'd be like, what am I doing here?
How did I get here?
Yeah.
And where is here?
Yeah.
I think the biggest, loop that they threw us for this time, though, was the ending.
Right.
That we have the guy go, and he's going to talk to the undersecretary, Mr. Lindauer.
Yep.
And very smoking man hiding in the shadows.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that because I know the image, and I was like, all he needs is a cigarette.
Yeah. Yeah, I was waiting for one to light up. But talking to him, and he's like, so you know people who were here before? He's like, can you identify them? And then he comes into the light, and it's like, basically the guy's like, crap.
Yeah,
I'm screwed.
damn.
And I'm thinking, why would you put all your cards on the table at one time? Because you don't know. What if you are talking to one of them? And it's like, oh, I am talking to. You have a horrible poker face.
Yeah.
No joke.
Well, he's creepy looking anyway. But.
And it's like, oh, that answered my question. All right. Now, I'm waiting for him to, throw him over the bridge.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how the next one's going to open.
Right.
But
yeah, we'll see this guy in this episode, and then he'll just disappear.
Yeah. Yep.
And the undersecretary will say, he jumped off the bridge and trying to escape.
Well, you notice that when the truck that pulled up on the other end of that bridge stopped and dropped him off, it backed away from the area.
Mm-hmm.
So basically all you have are the two guys, the car that the undersecretary came in, and then I don't know if he had a driver or if he drove himself. And that's all you've got on this deserted patch of elevated road.
Yeah.
Plausible
Perfect
deniability.
Yeah. Perfect scene to go kill somebody.
We could all put on our tinfoil hats and think of what might happen next.
And that was my only minor, like I said earlier when I was talking about, we've seen the local being overrun by the federal. Yeah, that's a retread, but this was my only really concern, if not complaint, about, like you said, Sean, about putting cards on the table. And I'm thinking the writers must have, if they're really good, because apparently this is only going to be an 11 episode run for right now, from what I've read anyway. And so they must have something really good to have this one bombshell put right out there on the pilot episode.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
This would be a perfect thing to keep quiet for at least a few episodes and reveal it around 7 or later. But they play their hand about the undersecretary right on episode 1. So they must have something really good. Do the previous group, have they infiltrated all the way to the presidency?
Exactly.
Ooh,
interesting. Yeah. I mean, if he's the undersecretary, who knows how far else they've gotten? Because the one guy from the group who survived said, "How long have you been here?" And the undersecretary goes, "Longer than you think."
Yeah.
Whoa! Holy moly. So.
Yeah. This is beginning to look like we're going to see, I think, Reese and Jude basically teaming up and trying to bring down the original group that showed up.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can easily see that.
Yeah. And I'm not sure what it's going to take in Reese to click into that mode, because basically she's the superior one there. So everybody is common to her except maybe the people that came before. They may have all been Apex. We don't know.
Right. Well, I would say certainly the undersecretary was part of the Apex. If he's infiltrated that far up, he's certainly not of the common group of the future. He's worked his way up for a reason.
Right.
So, and how he's worked his way up depends how long they've been here. Did he kind of just go through the regular channels? Did he bribe and maybe kill to get his way up there?
Right.
Not that they need to explain all that, but depends on how long he's been here as to the route that he took to get there. But yeah, I'm just thinking maybe with Reese, even though she's separate, maybe we should have called the show 48 Survivors. Oh man. And maybe the daughter, maybe Leia will be involved in that somehow. Unless this is really a take you out and harm you virus, if that is a virus that she's showing on her arm.
Right.
And maybe something, or here's another possible plot twist. Something happens to her to where it's a virus to take you out. Maybe Reese doesn't know this yet about Leia.
Right.
And maybe the other Apex people who she and Jude may team up to fight, maybe they have a cure for it.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Right.
So, I'm telling you, make me a writer on these shows. What the heck?
Our tinfoil hats are strong here.
Yeah, that's right. Come on, call me up, Hollywood. I'm available. So, there's a whole bunch of possibilities, but definitely, like I said, they left the two of them on that bridge alone, and that's, to dump a major plot point like that is whoa. I mean, like we were saying earlier, the fact that he pulled her away from that meeting early on in the episode, and he's a higher up, he's the undersecretary, and she's like, yeah, but I was going to go, no, you're coming over here. But no, you're coming over here. Yeah, come here. That was a red flag.
Yep.
Yes.
And maybe this, the Homeland Security agent, maybe she'll be torn between sides.
Yeah. Yeah. If she finds out the truth, then she could turn on her boss immediately.
Sure. Then again, if she's a by the book, her loyalty is to the Department of Homeland Security and her country.
Right.
And yeah, he's the, undersecretary, and, there's a whole bunch of ways they could do it. Like maybe Jude and Reese could spell this out to her, and she could just pass it off like, you're partnering with her and you don't know that much about her. She could be a danger. And Jude, you're bothered because we're not giving you a lot of access. So now you're coming up with this stuff, and now you're even going to start these stories about the undersecretary of all people. She could be caught in the middle, not knowing which way to turn. So
right.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways they can discredit her pretty quick.
Oh yeah. So they've definitely dropped a lot of crumbs, some big ones and some really teeny tiny ones, and they've definitely left it wide open for a lot of directions, which I like.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think we all agree.
Yeah. I give it a thumbs up.
Yes. So yeah, I think I'm in for the season.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, if Steve's going to be here, then I'll be here too.
All right. Well, what do you guys think? We want to hear from you. Shoot us an email at contactus@fangirlzone.com, and we will read it on air. And you can tell us all the fun stuff you're thinking in your tinfoil hat theories, because I know we're not the only ones wearing our tinfoil hat fedoras over here. So tweet along with us. I'm not sure which of the three of us will be doing it, but we are at, what is it now, Steve? 47 survivors.
Yes.
Which is the new one that Steve set up for us. Because he's much quicker at that than I am. But.
And please, a lot of you visit it so we can find it on Google. We went through this long. Yeah, we went through this long discussion before we started recording about you couldn't just find it on Google. Apparently, I guess because it's so new. But when you're in Twitter, you can find it lickety split. So, like, if you already, are a Twitter person, you'll just type in @47 survivors, you'll find it. But if you're like me, who is twitless, just to go onto Google to find it, Google's going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So please visit us.
But we will put it over on the website, too, to make it easy. So you can visit the website, fangirlzone.com, and click on that, because, that way it'll be easy, too.
Get there.
Oh,
she's so smart. I like her.
I'm not technology advanced sometimes, so. All right, and while you're doing all this and playing around on the computer, why don't you rate and review us on iTunes and every other platform you're finding us on? Because good ratings and reviews help other fans of the show find us. Tell your friends about the show, because obviously we're only one episode in, but we really want other people watching this because, like the guys have said, if they're playing this major card early, what the heck do they have up their sleeves?
Yeah.
Woohoo! That should be fun.
Yes. So, gentlemen,
it's gonna end up being a major surfing contest, and we're gonna have The Crossing and Baywatch crossover,
and the Wonders will play.
Just look forward to that.
And Steve Zahn will get
we'll
back.
See Hasselhoff running along the beach.
Yeah, he'll be running in slow motion, but that'll be without the special effects.
Steve Zahn will be back on guitar. Yeah.
There you go. That's it.
I would play the song from The Wonders, but we'd probably get sued. So, on that note, for this episode of The Crossing, I'm Sean Fangirl S.
And I'm Terry.
And I'm Steve.
And until next time.
Hasta la vista, baby.